The flutes hit the marble, and I felt the vibration before I saw the faces twist Larkspur Hall, all glass and roses and money, and me in thrift store heels holding a bouquet that matched the green stones in my hearing aids. Every mouth moving in slow motion, like a bad dream I couldn't mute or unsee. Caleb shaped the words like I was a kid he was teaching to sound out letters. This is a mistake, you don't belong here. And the laughter I couldn't hear rolled through the floor, cruel in a way you feel in your bones. I tried to sign what's happening, and nobody looked at my hands, which tells you everything you need to know about that crowd. Someone did a fake sign joke. A woman in a dress worth more than my car dabbed tears, like she'd just witnessed the funniest thing in America. And I thought about my 2 suitcases in coat check, the roommate I'd told I was moving out, the coffee shop. Job I had quit because today was supposed to start a whole new life. Then the doorway shifted, and the air changed, and a man walked in like the building knew his shoe size. He didn't skim the room, he looked straight at me and signed perfectly. Are you okay? Not slow, not exaggerated, just fluent and steady, and I signed back. I'm not, because lying felt like drowning. He turned to the room and spoke with this calm that made expensive people flinch. I read his lips as clear as subtitles. This woman is stronger than your cruelty. If you can't see her worth, that's your flaw, not hers. And later someone whispered his name, and I already knew it. Roman Vance, Signal Forge, the accessibility guy on magazine covers every deaf kid keeps in their pocket like a lucky coin. He faced me again, hands quiet. But certain my sister is deaf, I didn't come here to watch you get hurt. I'm going to offer something outrageous. You can say no, marry me instead right now on your terms. And yeah, that happened. Here's the thing, rescue wasn't what this was. It felt like somebody finally dragged the spotlight off my disability and put it where it belonged, on the disrespect in the room. So I asked questions like a person who's been burned. Consent boundaries. Am I a headline or a human contract, not fairy tale? My name stays my name, my money stays my money. And he kept saying the word dignity like it wasn't a prop, so I signed yes. Not to a fantasy, to a foundation, to a start. Nora, his assistant with red lipstick and razor focus, signed through every line of paper. Nothing sneaky, nothing rushed, a prenup that felt less like shackles and more like a parachute. And when he offered a simple ring, he didn't lean in like a movie. He waited for me to nod, then touched my forehead, with that careful kiss that isn't about desire at all. It's about respect, and we were married in a side room where the county official signed and spoke at the same time. And when we walked out, the laughter was gone, but the echo hung in the corners, and I didn't look back. The next morning in his house outside Boulder, I found a tablet on the kitchen island with big letters, "Good morning. This is your home, take your time, cereal's fine, or Nora can cook." And I stood there in socks, staring at the word home like it might bite. I pointed at cornflakes because I didn't want to be trouble. Nora made an omelet anyway, the kind of breakfast that tastes like someone is on your side. I wandered a library, a gym, a wall of windows that made the mountains look staged for a film. And at the end of the hall, a room flooded with light. Easel canvases, paint sorted like candy. And I'm a painter, not trained, just stubborn, cheap brushes, captioned tutorials at 2 a.m. So I ran a finger over bristles like I was greeting small animals, and Roman leaned on the doorframe with his sleeves rolled and signed, "Paint whatever you want. You don't owe me output." And something around my ribs loosened. We set rules because safety isn't an attitude, it's a structure. Separate bedrooms, real privacy, no public play acting, no touching without asking. And he kept every rule even when he burned a casserole so bad we had to order pizza while he laughed at himself, not me, and signed, "We'll try again tomorrow," with that grin that still shows up when a day goes sideways. His sister Piper, deaf, like me, and shaped like sunlight, dragged me to a cafe where the staff actually knew basic signs. and the captioning wasn't treated like a party favor, hauled dresses off racks with zero apology, because she said I deserved clothes that didn't apologize for being seen. And when I hesitated at price tags, she deadpanned. Spend Roman's money. It's one of his love languages, you know what I mean? He enrolled me with a painter named Clara, who had paint in her hair and zero patience for fear told me to stop tiptoeing and make a brave mess. And the first time I brought a canvas home, Roman didn't shower me with the kind of compliments that evaporate. He asked where my eye went first, and what the yellow streak felt like. And when he said that stroke feels like relief, I had to sit down. We went to a gala because sometimes you have to, and I wore a blue dress, Piper picked because she said it made me look like I owned the floor. Roman stayed at my shoulder and interpreted when needed, but never stole the story. We were fine until I saw Lydia Ashford across the room. Caleb's mother, the woman whose face had been a mask of pearl clutching at Larkspur, and my heart did a small backflip. Roman signed, "We can leave." I shook my head. I could stand there. I could stand anywhere. She shaped an apology, like a PR statement. I shaped, "I'm happy," like a fact, and we walked away. My group show came fast. 5 abstracts that felt like the inside of my chest stretched across canvas. A critic wrote that I was an artist to watch, and I screenshotted it too many times, because sometimes your brain needs proof. Roman kept to the back and let me glow, and the next day the doorbell rang, and Nora said a man wouldn't leave, and Caleb looked smaller in my foyer than he ever had, talking fast, like he could outrun the day he threw me away, blaming pressure and money and family brands, asking for another chance. And I said, "Love is a verb with actions, not a slogan. When the cameras are off," then he stepped closer, and I stepped back, and Roman appeared like a shadow. "You forgot belonged to a person until it moved." He didn't raise his voice. He said, "Leave now. If you contact my wife again, we'll go to court." Am I clear? And Caleb looked at us like we'd turned into a wall he couldn't push, and left. And my hands shook for an hour until Piper arrived with cookies and a list of rom-coms with good captions, because that's how sisters fight dragons. Here's the twist most people don't get. Feelings don't show up with a trumpet. They sneak in with pizza boxes and quiet questions they collect in the corners until you trip on them. Piper asked if I was falling for her brother, and I said we had an arrangement, and she rolled her eyes. Because sisters don't care about your carefully staged narratives. Then she told me he had called her weeks ago, asking how to give me space without making me feel abandoned. And I wanted to cry and high-five fate at the same time that night. I told him soft, like setting down glass. "I have feelings that aren't just gratitude," he signed me to. Both hands a little shaky. And when we finally kissed, it wasn't fireworks. It was certainty. The kind of yes your body recognizes before your brain signs off. The solo show was 15 paintings and a wall of color that felt like a map out of the dark. People cried at a piece called Breaking Light, and I cried watching them cry. A famous collector. Robert Chin told me I belonged in a national exhibition, and I said yes before my fear could raise its hand. Caleb showed up with an apology I accepted because carrying anger had gotten heavier than setting it down. I walked back to my husband, and the air felt clean. And that night on the balcony, Roman poured champagne and signed a sentence that bent time. "I don't want this to be an arrangement anymore. I want forever," then pulled out a ring that changed color, like my paintings got on one knee, because sometimes life steals from movies and makes it better. "Will you marry me for real? No exit ramp, just us." And I said yes, so fast. I messed up the sign and we both laughed. We married again under string lights in our backyard. I wore emerald because blue felt like the old chapter and green felt like growth. Piper cried like a champion. Roman's parents signed along because they'd learned our language a long time ago. Our vows were simple. His to choose joy over grind, mine to stop apologizing for existing, and to remind him the whole world isn't his to fix alone. And when his mom pressed a bracelet into my palm, little charms for love and home and passion and growth, I felt the circle close and open at the same time. We launched Blue Ember Arts and wrote interpreters into budgets like Oxygen, gave grants and scholarships, and gallery partners who put captions on wall cards and ASL at openings. Clara curated the first showcase. Piper ran outreach like a woman on a mission. Roman shifted from product roadmaps to applications and impact metrics because he said access isn't charity, it's infrastructure. And when I stood on a stage to accept an advocacy award, the floor hummed with a bass line I couldn't hear. I talked about people who confuse volume with value and about the stranger who signed. I was worth more than their approval, and Roman sat in the front row with his hands clasped and his eyes bright. And yeah, for a kid who learned to lip read, because the world forgot to write things down, that was something. Here's where the story doesn't wrap itself in a bow. Larkspur Hall asked me to headline a fundraiser for inclusive arts. The Ashfords are on the board, and the internet split itself like a pie. Half saying, take the stage and make the room clap with their hands for once, half saying, don't spend your good name where they tried to erase you. And Roman asked the only question that mattered. What do you want? Not what sounds brave online, not what looks strong in a headline. What do you want? And I said, I don't know yet, so we're waiting. And I stand on the same balcony where all of this began, mountains blue at the edges, paint drying in the studio behind me, the invitation sitting on the island like a dare. I think about the girl at Larkspur who tried to shrink to fit the room, and the woman now who paints with both hands, laughs with her whole spine, signs yes to herself before she says it to anyone else. I don't owe them a performance. I don't owe them forgiveness on a microphone. But maybe I owe that girl one full circle walkthrough where she almost vanished, head up, hands, steady voice, exactly as it is, you know what I mean? If you've ever been underestimated, if someone told you to be less so, they could feel like more. Tell me in the comments what you did next. Should I take that stage at Larkspur and make it undeniable, or keep my art where the people already chose to see me? What feels like real justice to you? What does accountability look like off the internet? I'm listening. With my eyes, with my hands. With the part of me that knows silence has never meant absence. And if you stayed with me this long, hit subscribe and share your own story. Forgive loudly or thrive quietly.